Hi, I'm Brian of Simply Brian Enterprises and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to start off this channel by building a little device that I've been wanting for quite some time. Back about 8 years ago, I started playing around with the Arduino and really enjoyed having a powerful, inexpensive prototyping platform that I could enjoy connecting buttons, lights, buzzers, switches, and all sorts of fun things, doing some tinkering, but also actually being able to do some real world projects, doing things like temperature sensors and so forth. And it quickly became apparent that I wanted some way to bring the parts together a little better. I had my Arduino, I had my breadboard, and I had jumper wires, and that was great. But if I had to pick it up and move it, that became very difficult. So I was thinking about how could I maybe put a platform together to actually accommodate the two in kind of a portable fashion. Then several years later, I started playing around with the Raspberry Pi. And this opened up a whole new world because now I have a fully functional Linux computer. And actually, I found that I could work with these two together. I could use the Linux computer to actually program the Pi as well as moving data between the two over the I2C bus. And again, as I was playing with the Pi, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if there was a way I could kind of put these together into one frame and actually use it as kind of a portable device. So about a year ago, I stumbled across what amounts to a piece of blue ABS plastic. This little contraption is made by a company called 52 Pi. Its model number is ZP0073. And these are available at Micro Center. For some reason, I can't find these on the 52 Pi website, so I don't know where else you can order them from, but I'll put a link below to the Micro Center page where you can order this. And as soon as I saw it, I knew it's what I've been looking for. So what I've got is like I said, a blue piece of ABS plastic, and there's a little set of screws and a screwdriver. And this little piece of plastic has three compartments. It has a compartment for a full-size 800-point breadboard. It has a compartment for a Raspberry Pi. Now this will hold a Pi 3, a Pi 4, or a Pi 0. You can see there's these kind of interim standoffs here that you could actually secure a Pi 0 if you wanted to. And of course, an Arduino, either an Uno or a Mega, depending on which size board you have. It's got the holes for both. So when I first got this thing, I was very enthusiastically ready to go. Had my Mega, had my Pi, had my breadboard, and said, okay, great, there we are. And immediately I noticed a problem. So even though these components both fit, if you have a Mega and a full-size Pi, they're so close together that you can't reach the SD card. So if I want to be able to swap the SD card in my Pi 4, I can't do that because the Mega's in the way. So I'm actually going to have to unscrew to be able to move this around. And that was kind of a dead end for me. And at that point, I kind of put it all away and said, well, that would have been nice, but oh well. Recently, I stumbled across a video series from Paul McWhorter where we're working with Arduinos and Python. We're also working with Raspberry Pi. Now suddenly my desire to have this assemblage of hardware, self-contained, wired up, ready to go, really reignited. And so I had to start to think through what can I possibly do to make this happen. And so through a little experimentation, through a little tinkering, what I decided I can do is instead of just using the screws that come with it, I can actually put standoffs, raise up the Raspberry Pi to the point where I can actually get my fingers under here, pull out the SD card, and everything will sit just beautifully. That led me down the trail of, okay, great. These are really tiny screws. What are these? And 52 pi does not have an answer for me. So I had to do some experimentation, had to make several trips to the hardware store, and finally determined that the thread is a metric thread, and it is a thread M2. That's unfortunate because M2.5 is actually a fairly common standoff size. You can go to several different stores and purchase them right off the shelf. M2, not so common. So what I ended up doing was ordering a set of M2 standoff screws and washers off of Amazon. And I'll put a link to this item as well as the 52 pi down in the description. So what I'm going to do here is I'm first going to secure the Arduino Mega to the platform. And for that, I'm going to use the screws that are with my standoff set. I'm going to just leave these alone, even though there's screws and this handy little screwdriver that come with the kit. I'm going to just leave those be. I'm going to use what's actually here. And then I'm going to take my screwdriver and this bit, there it is. This bit is a 000 Phillips. So it's Phillips is of course number 1, number 0, number 00. This is a number 000. So this is one of the smallest Phillips bits you can buy. And I'm just going to take these screws and I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to put the time index below. You can skip ahead. I'm not very good at video editing, so I'm not going to edit this out. You're just going to have to watch as I fumble with screws trying to get this together. I'll be kind to you and only do a couple of screws. There's one to hold that one in. And I'll just screw on the opposite corner and then we'll proceed on. So in case you're wondering why I'm sitting in such a precarious position with such strange lighting and strange backdrop, I have a video space that I can work in. And I actually set it up March of 2020 for doing Zoom calls. When everybody got sent home, I was working professional IT in an office like a lot of people. I was in an office every day, got sent home, and had to do Zoom calls from home. So I set up a little studio area with a green screen and so forth to actually handle Zoom calls from home. And as this series progresses and as I start doing tinkering and working with Paul McWhorter's videos, I'm going to be recording from that studio. But today I need to be in here because I need the room. That studio is a little too cramped. I don't have table space to actually work on this. This is going to drive me crazy. This is going to drive you crazy. I'm just going to forget this for now and keep moving on. So now I'm going to switch from my Phillips bit to a hex driver bit, a very small hex driver bit. I was trying to find the number. There's a number 3 associated with this bit, but I don't know enough about little micro hex drivers to know what that 3 is referring to. And now I'm going to look at my standoff assortment. So these are going to be the 20 millimeter standoffs, and that's 2 centimeters for those of you who didn't do the metric math. And what I learned from experimentation is that 20 is not quite tall enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to first put in the 20s, and then I'm going to add another 5. So we're going to have a full 25 millimeters off of the board surface for the Pi 4 to sit on. And I'm using this hex driver because I want to make sure that these are nice and snug, make sure they're not going to go anywhere. Hopefully I don't screw this up too much and bore everybody. Okay, so my 20 millimeter posts are in. Now I'm going to grab my, oh, where are they? Here's my 5mm. These I'm going to start off by hand. So I'm going to have these raised off the surface by 25mm. And after I have these tight, do a quick dry fit with the pie. There we go, 2 of those are done. I look forward in the future to getting better at editing video, but for today we're just going to do it this way. I've been told that with every video you put on YouTube, you should look at it, learn from it, and do better the next time. Well, I see a whole lot of opportunity to do better next time. All right, so now I've got the suspended 25mm off the surface, and I can very comfortably get the SD card in and out of there. So mission accomplished. I'm really happy with this. So now I'm going to switch back to my 000 Phillips driver. Grab these little Phillips bit or those Phillips screws and tighten this down, at least kind of tighten it down. Again, I might do this off camera. You don't need to see me dropping screws and being perpetually frustrated. Unless you want to, maybe I'll come up with a video series of just perpetual frustration. I don't think anybody's going to watch it though. It's a lot easier when no one's watching. But you're watching. You're looking right over my shoulder. So of course I'm having trouble. There, one screw. One screw is good enough for this video. After I'm done filming, I can fix this. Now, it goes without saying, we want to be careful with this set of screws, this set of standoffs. Make sure that that's latched when we're done using it. Playing pickup standoffs when they're that small would not be a lot of fun at all. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start wiring it up. So I'm going to actually run a USB cable from the Pi into the Arduino. And for that, I have purchased a set of, just a general set of USB cables off of Amazon that have right and left connectors. Yeah, let's see, where's the camera? There we go. So you see they're angled connectors, and the idea is that way we can actually run them kind of underneath and around, and we don't have the large connectors sitting out the sides. That's going to look a lot smoother. So I'm just going to come down here like this, and in this case I'm actually going to come around the standoffs. The next time you see this, it'll be a lot cleaner because I'll have everything screwed in. I'll have these cables routed a lot cleaner, and you'll get a much better picture of what this thing is going to look like going forward. And now just kind of, oh, this is going to be there. Perfect. Nope. So the rule is you put it in one way, it doesn't work, you flip it around, you do it the other way, doesn't work, you put it back, and then you were right the first time. That is the rule of USB. Unless you were wrong the first time. There we go. I do have another connector that is a right angle A to B type. And I'm wondering if that's the one I should use. Nope, because this one goes that way. Nope, we're going to go with this one for now. So now I actually have the Pi and the Arduino wired together. So once I install Linux on here and configure it, it will actually see the Pi. I can put the Arduino IDE right onto the Pi and do all of my Arduino programming via the Pi. And I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be nice and simple to have a programming environment with no computer. You may have noticed this little USB dongle right here. It's hard to see, so maybe you didn't. This is for my wireless keyboard. I have a Logitech K400 that I like to use for Pi projects. It's got an integrated touchpad. We'll see that in the future videos as well. Finally, the last thing we have to do is come up with a way to power this. And what I have been able to do is I purchased a Raspberry Pi branded uh, power supply. This is 5 volts, 3.1 amps, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 3 amps. I thought this was a 3.1. It's a 3 amp. 5 volt, 3 amp. The reason I want to specify that it's a Raspberry Pi branded adapter is that there are a number of generic 5 volt adapters out there that claim to put out 2.5 amps or 3 amps. If you have a Pi 3, you need 2.5. If you have a Pi 4, you need 3. And these generic adapters, as soon as you plug them in, the Pi starts reporting the undervoltage errors. So clearly what is stamped on the power supply is not really what it's putting out. So that's why I want to use a genuine Raspberry Pi branded power supply to know that when it says 5 volts at 3 amps, it's going to be sufficient to power my Pi 4. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually clip this connector off, because what I want to do is I want to put a multi-pin connector on here. I want to have a connector for the Pi 4. I want to have a connector for the Pi 3. I want to have a connector for the Arduino. And I also want to be able to put power directly to this breadboard. And the reason I want that is because I want all of my +5s and all of my grounds to be one source. I want to know that if I put a potentiometer on here and wire one end to ground and the other to +5, that the +5 I'm wiring this potentiometer to is the same +5 that this is going to respond to. I want to know that it's the same +5 that this is going to respond to. And that's why I want to make sure that everything is powered, one supply, one set of power. And so I've done just that. I've taken again, a Raspberry Pi branded power supply, and I clipped the end off. And I actually had some kind of fancy looking USB cables, so I decided to put these on. I've got this kind of rainbow psychedelic looking USB Type-C adapter, and this maybe a little more subtle bluish paisley micro B. So these are the two connectors for the Pi 4 and the Pi 3. I have this barrel connector for the Arduino, and then I have a set of bare wires that I can run underneath this to power the breadboard directly. All right, well, that's the conclusion of the video. I'm just going to finish this up. You don't want to watch that. I'm going to finish wiring this up, and the next time you see it, it'll be up and running. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.